I come from a different perspective than most of my friends and contemporaries. My parents were immigrants. In our home, we always had enough food. There was always enough to eat. Whatever mom cooked, we ate, and there was plenty. But one thing, and I talked this over with my sisters, that we noticed was that she never sat down and ate with us. She'd serve, she'd put it on the table. She always said, I'm not going to sit, there's not enough room at the table. It was a small kitchen table in a small kitchen, but she wouldn't sit and eat with us, and then afterwards she'd sit down and eat. It was because she wanted to make sure there was enough, that we would come first and there was enough for us. Years later, she moved in with us. She was approaching dementia and she couldn't live by herself. And my mother was a gardener. In our home when we were growing up, she would grow roses, she would grow poppies. She had all different varieties of hosta. And one day we were out in the yard and I said to her, Ma, why did you grow flowers? I remember growing up on Taylor Street. We lived with my grandparents for the first 4 years of my life. And my grandmother had this wonderful garden. She grew potatoes, she grew sweet corn, she grew onions, she grew anything you can think of, she grew. And she looked at me and she said, you know, honey, in Russia we were hungry. And Bubby grew this garden because your Zadie went to the United States 10 years before we came. He had left my mother, and 3 siblings and my grandmother. And she said he didn't send much money, so Ma had to make a living so that we could eat. And so she had this garden, and what she didn't sell, we would eat. And when we came to the United States, he still didn't make a living, so she had this garden. And she said, when I married your dad, he had a bakery, and I knew we would never be hungry, so I can grow flowers. So I think in our community, we want to make it so that everyone can grow flowers, that they should never feel food insecurity. And at Passover, this is very important. I think it means for the families that are supported by this that they can have dignity. The way we do it with the food cards and the gas cards, people have dignity, it's not obvious, and everyone can eat. And that's the most important thing, I think. We don't realize how much food insecurity there is. And it encompasses the whole span of our community. I mean, you know, there are people from each synagogue, there are people that are unaffiliated that are using our food pantry. And the nice part about it is when they no longer need it, they contribute back. And that is very important. And so I encourage everyone to give to our Passover drive. This helps, we have a fundraiser twice a year, and this helps people in our community live with dignity.